You will learn most of the things by looking or by listening, but reading gives you understanding. Reading will make you free. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Namita and today we are going to talk about how to understand what we read. I know this is a very serious concern because every now and then I read comments where you tell me that you're not being able to understand the books that you're reading. Though you're fine with vocabulary, you understand the grammatical constructions and you know the meaning of the sentences, but somehow you're not being able to make the sense out of the text that you're reading. And this is something which is very serious, which needs to be talked about. Otherwise, what's the point of reading? If we are not understanding anything, why are we reading? The whole concept of reading is to develop our understanding so that we can apply the knowledge in our real life situations. So today we are going to resolve this issue by following a few simple steps that I'm going to share. You will be able to understand anything that you read. Follow these. I think I'm going to share 10 steps today. Follow these steps and then see the magic which will happen to you. We will read and we will understand, and then we'll be able to apply it into our life as well. So this video is going to be very, very helpful for each one of you. Okay, so the very first thing which we need to do, and this is something which I got a very recent comment in one of my videos, and this brought me to this creating this whole video. That person said that he is willing to read philosophy books. He is trying to read philosophy books, but somehow he's not being able to understand anything, though he's good with vocabulary and everything. And I replied him that maybe philosophy is not your cup of tea. I don't remember the name, but yes, this person was saying this thing. So the very first thing is you have to choose the books to read for which you don't have to force yourself to read. Are you getting it? You have to read something which you can read without a lot of pressure. The idea is to enjoy the process. We want to enjoy this whole reading thing, just like you enjoy watching movies. You don't go to watch any movie. You watch movies either of your favorite stars or your favorite director. We choose to watch only those movies which somewhere we want to enjoy, or the genre which you like comedy, you like romance, you like horror. You choose movies according to your interests. So same go for books which you understand or something which you can connect well with. This is very important. If you look for book recommendations and pick up anything which you're not being able to relate to, the soul of the book and your soul are not resonating at one point, then there is no point reading. Read something that you want to read. Read it because a person you know has written a book. Maybe someone's biography, maybe novels, maybe you like stories, maybe right now you want to know more about finances, something for which you don't have to force yourself, something you're interested in. Right now, which situation you're going through, what are the problems for which you're looking solutions for, read something related to that. Then your heart and soul will connect to the book and you'll be able to understand it better. This is how it works. So choose something accordingly. The second thing we need to do is you have to skim the text. Now, what is skimming? Skimming is not exactly reading. It is like going through the pages with a cursory sight. You're just going to pick up some important points. For that, you look for headings. If there are any pictures, you look for that. If there are any pointers, if something is highlighted, something is in bold, you look for all those things. So when you skim the paragraph, when you skim the pages, the text, it is easy for you to get the gist of it. What is the writer actually trying to say? Are you even interested in reading that? So this thing you have to do, you have to go for skimming first, so that you get the idea. You are being able to pick up the significant points and then move ahead with your reading. This helps a lot. If you have an idea, then you will not most likely quit in between. Now, after skimming, go for deep reading. Now we will read properly. sentence after sentence, page after page, chapters after chapter. So this detailed reading is something which we have to do with a lot of consciousness. Now there are two ways of reading. One is active reading and one is passive reading. The name automatically is telling you, but still let me explain it. Reading passively means that you're not very much involved into it, but yes, you're reading through the pages or you're reading the text just for the sake of reading. Basically, your mind is not very active. It's not like passively means you're not actively involved, while active reading is something you do with all your senses completely organized and there, which are present. We do active reading with a highlighter, with a pen, pencil, another notebook, a dictionary by our side. This is called active reading, and this is something which I'll suggest for all the beginners. If you're not a reader already, do active reading. It's not that I do active reading all the time. Mostly I do, but I can read it passively because I've been reading for decades. It is not a new thing for me. But for someone who's beginning, it's important to be actively involved while you're reading. So read with highlighter, read with a dictionary, keep a diary, everything. So be very active while you're reading. With active reading, which brings me to the next point, is when you're actively involved, you'll use your imagination more. So next step is use your imagination and start to picture the whole text which is written. And it happens with, especially with the novels, with fiction, you start imagining all the characters on your own. You know what, this is a very, very beautiful thing about reading. If I have to give my point of view about why reading is better than movies, then I would say that while watching a movie, the character already has a face, a physique, an outlook. We know the actors are playing the role. So there is no scope for creating anything of our own. With books, while reading fiction, we are free to create our own characters. The character is given our own faces, the actor, how the person is looking. Use your imagination. This is the beauty of reading. You have your own people in your head. You have the scenery in front of you when you're reading. Everything is there. The description of someone's garden, the description of a character, the villain, the hero, the heroine, everything. Use your imagination and see a picture. If till now you're not doing it, start doing it consciously. You have to sometimes give instructions to this mind to do things for you. So tell your mind to create pictures, use your imagination, and that's something so beautiful. You'll fall in love with reading the day you start imagining, and that is what makes reading so special. You're allowed to imagine anything. You can create something of your own. That's your private world. Movie is something which is for everyone, but reading is a very personal thing. It is always going to stay very close to your heart. So use your imagination. And now what happens is when you're reading with such a beauty, such an involvement, sometimes there are halts, there are pauses because you are not being able to understand a few words. There would be vocabulary which is hard because when you're reading English books, if you are a beginner, then it might be tough for you to know each and every word. So for that, always keep a dictionary by your side, or you have a phone, you can Google it. It's not hard these days. The technology has made it so easy for all of us. So keep looking for meanings there and then. Otherwise, you will quit. If there are 4 words in a paragraph that you've not been able to understand, you will most likely quit reading. Oh, this is so tough. Try to look for the meaning there and then. You will not lose interest. In fact, you'll learn something new which will make your reading even more interesting. So keep looking for the meanings of the words in the dictionary. It helps a lot to the beginners. And then the next step is read out loud. And this is a very essential part of active reading. Whenever you're reading, make sure that you're speaking it, that you are reading it aloud, out loud, that your mouth is involved. In passive reading, our eyes are going through the sentences and the words, but sometimes the message is not reaching the mind because it's only the eyes which are involved. That's a part of passive reading. But with active reading, our eyes, Our mouth, our ears and mind, these four senses are fully active. The mouth is telling everything to the ears, and the ears are sending the message to the brain that this is the whole context. So understanding would be easy for you. Understanding will happen automatically. You'll be able to understand everything if you're doing it actively. So make sure that you're reading it out loud. And there is one thing that I would say, this it might be funny for you, but this is very small, but do it. I have a book right now. How do I read? What you need to do is keep a pen, and after every line, like when you're reading, under every line, like this. When you're reading, keep your pen like this, or simply use a finger like this. Keep reading like this under every line. This is very important for active reading. It will be very helpful if you read like this. So keep speaking. I still read out loud every time I'm reading. I have never read without reading. If I try to do that, I fail to understand. So for me, I have to read. Whenever I'm reading it out loud, and it should not be a botheration for people around you. You're not watching porn, you're just reading a book. So what's wrong with it? Something that you can't do with your family. It's absolutely all right. You're doing a good thing. They should be happy. And if they are not, then I don't know what to say. They should be happy that you're reading. It's a good habit. If you read, your children, your siblings, the other members of your family would also be encouraged to read. Reading is a good habit. It's a good thing. It's a very positive habit. So you're not doing anything wrong. Read out loud with a pen or a marker, or simply use your finger to just keep running it under the sentences. That's very nice. Okay, now after doing all these things, one very important thing that you have to do is writing down the summary of whatever you have read. If you're comfortable writing things in your books, then do it in 4-5 lines. Otherwise, I keep a separate notebook and I make a summary out of it. Now, this is something which is more significant for the beginners. So you write the summary down. This is something which you'll be writing in your own words. Don't write the same sentences and the same words. Write something from your own words. What is the summary according to you? How will you summarize it? So do that and write it down. When you're reading and writing together, the understanding functions in a better way. You'll be able to understand and recall it in a better way. Now, when you have written the summary in few sentences, now what you have to do is you have to start asking questions. The writer has written it with a mindset. He has a point of view. His text or whatever he has shared, his perspective is based on his experiences or whatever has happened in his life. Are you agreeing to what he is saying? This is something which will develop your critical mind. To have that critical mind, you should question whatever you've read. I don't agree to this one, or I agree to this one. You have to somewhere resonate with his thought process to read something further. If completely you disagree with something, then you can read it to see how other people think. It's not always that everybody's mind and everybody's thinking is in sync with ours. Sometimes it's important to read something which is completely opposite to your point of view. So it's important that you have a few questions, and it is like questioning his mindset, questioning his writing is like developing your critical mindset. It's very important to ask questions, and if your questions for which you picked up book are being answered or not, both ways. So ask questions, be ready with some questions to just, cross his point of view. It's important. Now the next step, once you have read something, you've read one chapter of a book or something, start discussing it with people you can discuss it with. It can be your family, your friends, if there are people who you can talk about these things. You've read a philosophical book, any philosophy, or you've read a novel, something, any story, a short story, you want to talk about it with someone, go ahead and talk to it with your friends. Otherwise, if you have no one, which is the case with me, I have literally no one I can talk to about it. It happens because your friends or the people you know don't have the same bent. When you're reading, you're reading every time and your understanding is going in different dimensions, people cannot relate to you more. So I have no friends at all who I can talk about my reading or my books or my texts, what I'm understanding, how I am thinking these days. There's absolutely no one with whom I can talk about these things. So what I do is I talk to myself. Simply, I talk to myself every time. When I'm arranging my books or my stuff on my table, I'm talking to myself. When I am just doing the dusting in my house, I'm talking to myself. When I'm watering the plants, I'm talking to myself. While cooking, I'm talking to myself. I'm just sitting, I'm talking to myself. Talk about all the knowledge that you've gained from that one text to yourself. And it's even better than talking to people, because people, some of them will completely shun your point of view. Arey yaar, what are you into? Why are you becoming so philosophical? What are you talking about? When you talk to yourself, you end up peeling the layers within your own mind. You will not even realize that you have gained so much. Your subconscious mind is retaining so much from that reading and from your understanding right from childhood. It's like decoding a lot of knots within ourselves. So when you talk to yourself, you start delving so deep into your own self that it turns into a very deep understanding of everything. So it should start with you. Start talking with yourself. Sometimes you can even do with fiction. You can do is that you can pretend to be the character sometimes, the hero or the heroine. You can be that character and think from his or her own perspective. You can just try to be in the character's shoes sometimes. This is going to be wonderful. This can be a beautiful experience if you ever try to do that. I do it all the time, and this is something wonderful. I would recommend it to everyone who is starting to read. And the last point is, it is not the least of course, but the last step is that start making notes of whatever you've read. Make notes, write down quotes. If nothing else, if you still don't know much about note making, I can make a detailed video on note making if at all I get comments related to it. Make notes, a few pointers. What have you gained out of it? Do something like that. And this can be amazing. This is going to be beautiful. Make notes or simply write down the quotes. In the end, what have you learned in a diary, and make a separate diary where you are making notes or writing down quotes from different books that you're reading, different texts, different articles, different newspaper. This is for your understanding. So this is how you can understand the books very well. Something which you can do for yourself. This is something which we do for love. The idea is to love reading. Don't do it out of pressure. Don't do it out of compulsion. If you're seriously thinking about building a habit of reading, do it only for that. Otherwise, don't do it. Otherwise, you can just completely skip this whole part. I have a book right now with me, and let me just share one page of reading with you. I'll read it with you so that you can understand how to read it properly. Here is this one of my favorite books by Robin Sharma, Who Will Cry When You Die. It's one of my favorites. I've read it many times, and the best part is it has short chapters. So there is this favorite chapter of mine out of all of them. This is Have a Living Funeral. So I'm going to read this for you, just one page. Be patient if you want to listen to it, otherwise you can just leave the video here. Those who are interested, those who have come till here, you can listen to this one. It's going to be a beautiful experience. When I was doing research for the monk who sold his Ferrari, I came across the story of an Indian Maharaja who would engage in a bizarre morning ritual. Every day, immediately after waking up, he would celebrate his own funeral, complete with music and flowers. All the while he would chant, I have lived fully, I have lived fully, I have lived fully. When I first read this, see how I'm reading. When I first read this, I could not understand the purpose of this man's ritual. So I asked my father for some guidance. His reply was this: Son, what this Maharaja is doing is connecting to his mortality every day of his life. So he will live each day as if it were his last. His ritual is a very wise one and reminds him of the fact that time slips through our hands like grains of sand, and the time to live life greatly is not tomorrow but today. I can highlight this point that the time to live life greatly is not tomorrow but today. One's sense of mortality is a great source of wisdom. While on his deathbed, Plato was asked by a friend to summarize the great life's work, the dialogues. After much reflection, he replied in only 2 words: practice dying. The ancient thinkers had a saying that captured the point Plato made in other terms. Death ought to be right there, before the eyes of those who are young, just as much as before the eyes of those who are very old. Every day, therefore, should be regulated as if it were the one that brings up the rear, the one that rounds out and completes our lives. Having a living funeral will reconnect you to the fact that time is a priceless commodity, and the best time to live a richer, wiser, and more fulfilling life is now. If I have to summarize it, I will say that we have to keep death on our shoulders. When we are young, we feel that this is something which happens only to old people, or even old people don't know whether they are going to wake up tomorrow or not. It's that we fear death. Instead of having a fear of death, let's confront it every day. If we know that it's a reality, it is bound to happen. In fact, that's the ultimate truth. We will start living in today. Otherwise, we are all living either in the past and suffering because of this, the whole things which did not go our way, or we are always worried about the future. We are missing out on the present. So keeping our eyes open to death might keep us in the present. The time is now. We should stop putting life on hold. I have done it for a very long time. I've been putting moments for hold, everything on hold. This will happen, then I'll do it. When this will happen, then I'll do it. And I missed out on a lot of precious moments. So this is what I'm taking away from this text, is that I have to stop putting things on hold. Life is happening right now. Who is guaranteeing that I'll wake up tomorrow, whether I'll have a tomorrow or not? If not, then I would only regret the things I've not done. I would not even think about the things I've done. I'll only worry about the things I've not done. So let's do whatever we want to do now. This present is a gift. Let's unwrap it and let's start living it. So make notes, write down these pointers like there is no tomorrow, it is today, something like this. Make notes out of it. So try summarizing this in your own words. I know Atal is going to do that for us. Summarize this beautiful paragraph, Atal, Gamini, these people who are actively involved, do that. And those of you who are not very interested in typing in comments, you can do it for your reference. Write down at least a few notes. It's a beautiful text. This video has become a little long, I know, but this is a very precious video, something which is very close to my heart. So this is for all of you who want to build a reading habit and who genuinely want to understand whatever you're reading, who want to have a love affair with the books, just like I have. Let's talk more about reading on this channel. I will come up with more such videos. If you're liking it, please leave me a beautiful comment telling me that these videos are helpful and I should create more of them. And I'll see you in my next one. Till then, keep reading books, keep falling in love with pages, and keep just getting involved into more text. This will change your life. All right. So I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.